Good evening, everybody. This is your host, Huge Pop from the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. And tonight I have a special guest. Our guest he's appearing at the River City WrestleCon this year. He calls himself Your Answer to Professional Wrestling. He is the current God's Gift to World Champion, in his opinion. He will be wrestling this weekend in the Florida Wrestling Empire event. He also is the CEO of McKnight Records and Josh Breezzyy LLC. He was named a 2020 Hip Hop Artist of the Year. Our guest is trained by Cody Rhodes and others at the Nightmare Factory. Please welcome to the pro wrestling sensation and award-winning hip hop artist, Josh Breezzyy, and that's with two E's, two Z's, and two Y's. And you can Google that, bitches. Let's go.
Hey man, what's going on? That was great. I love it.
How you doing, my guy? Thank you for coming aboard. I thank you for sharing your stories. And I'm just going to ask this first question that probably you get asked all the time, not pertaining to your personal wrestling career, but wrestling as a fan. How old were you when you got started? What are you still a wrestling fan, and what has got you so hyped about this business of professional wrestling?
So I've been a professional wrestling fan as long as I can remember. My parents were both wrestling fans. My mom is a huge fan of The Undertaker. So I was definitely watching Raw, SmackDown back in the day. A lot of my earliest memories of it is Raw used to come on at 9 p.m., but my bedtime was always like 8:30. So I would stay awake in my room, like my parents would be like, all right, go to bed, shut the TV off. I'd stay awake till about 9 o'clock, turn the TV on mute, and watch Raw until I fell asleep on mute. And they eventually caught on. And I remember one time they walked in at like 9:02 and they caught me turning the TV on. So all my life has been a wrestling fan.
Were you a WCW fan?
Not really. I was born in '96, so it was really a little bit before my time. Around the time I started getting into wrestling, they were on the way out.
Okay.
So
So NWO was cleared out by that time, and you got
yeah.
into probably the attitude era then, or
Yeah, like 2000 is probably as far back
okay.
as I can remember.
All right. What? So do you watch professional wrestling now? Do you watch all of it? Are you a fan that likes to watch everything, or do you watch one in particular brand?
I mostly just tune in for AEW and the WWE pay-per-views. For a while, I wasn't really watching any of it. I would watch on like Twitter and just take in clips and things like that, see what I could find on YouTube, the highlights, just because I felt like nothing was really interesting me.
Hmm.
WWE for a while had a production style that I wasn't a fan of. And with a lot of, you'll see it a lot on Twitter. People talk about it with the constant cuts, and there'll be like 30 jump cuts in like one little piece, and it really just headaches crazy. And I was just like, all right, this ain't for me. And it was just too polished for me. And then AEW kind of just got a little repetitive for me. And then it stopped being appointment television for me.
Yeah.
But lately, I've been trying to watch a lot more. WWE's been a lot better. AEW's been a lot better. I don't tune in for Impact. I do keep up with Impact or TNA now. They're back to TNA. I keep up with TNA because I'm a big fan of Brian Myers and everything that they got going on over there. Hopefully, one day I get to work there. My boy AJ Francis showing up to TNA.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I try to at least keep up with everything. I don't always get to sit down and watch it and enjoy it. And
Okay.
that's mostly because my wife will tell you this. If we sit down and watch it, I'm like dissecting the match as a wrestler. I can't just
Yes.
watch it as a fan anymore.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh, he messed that up. Oh, he did this. Oh, he did that. Oh, he threw a bad punch. Oh, he didn't sell this. Oh, he slapped his thigh there. And it's just like
Yeah.
I can't just watch it with those fan glasses anymore.
And I relate to that because my wife in several years ago she was a EMT, so an ambulance driver, stuff like that. And
Hmm.
we watch like Chicago Fire or Chicago
Oh,
PD,
love Chicago.
right? And she sit there going, they didn't brace her neck, they didn't do this. I'm like, come on, let's just watch the show, you know.
That's
So I
funny.
relate. I relate. Yeah. So as a kid growing up, was there one match that stuck out in your mind, going, "Holy crap!" that you remember?
I mean, if you could see the background of my room and anything the Hardys did, I was just like, wow, I want to go jump off my roof right now. And then you see the "Don't try this at home" screen, and you're like, oh man. But yeah, I don't know if I can't specifically say which match. I mean, looking back, like if I want to show anybody a match for their first time, I always go to that TLC triple threat match. Um, just because the things they were doing were just not only were they out of this world, but they were ahead of their time. It was fast paced, it was different, and like for once, tag teams meant something in wrestling,
Right.
which was great. So I always go to that. And then Thugonomics John Cena.
Okay.
That was my guy. I'm not gonna lie. I was a huge John Cena Word Life fan. Um, so when he started coming out with that and the rapping and all that,
That was hot. That was fire. So now there's a lot of speculation that you're going to see the Dudley Boys or the Hardy Boys show up at WrestleMania. Are you a fan of that, or do you think it's beyond their time? I mean, what do you think?
um, for my own personal reasons, I hope the Hardy Boys don't show up because I feel like there's a better chance I could wrestle Matt or Jeff in AEW than in WWE. But I'm also a fan, an actual fan of them. So if they do, if Matt doesn't resign and Jeff gets out of his contract and they both go back to WWE, I'm rooting for them. I think they have a lot to add still to any television show, any wrestling company. Just because they are quote unquote past their prime doesn't mean they're not still top guys. Um, should they be, face of the tag team division? Probably not, but they could definitely add to any tag division, any singles division as single superstars, and just overall entertainment. Like, if you can't find a spot on your TV for the Broken Hardys, then there's probably like you're probably missing the mark somewhere.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's and as far as the Dudleys, I don't think Devon is cleared to wrestle anymore. So I don't think it would be them, but it would be a nice thing to see him back if he is cleared to wrestle.
yeah. Okay.
I would pop for the Dudleys. Um, again, I hope they don't win, but
Right,
it
right,
would
right.
be nice. They could definitely add to the match and having people, especially like the Dudleys, the Hardys, those guys, like they're decorated tag teams, like and it's a ladder match, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they've been in all these historical ladder matches, so adding a team like that kind of gives it more credibility. So if a younger team does win, it's like, wow, we beat the Hardys or we beat the
absolutely,
Dudleys.
absolutely. So I see the background. It's a bunch of figures, and I read that you are a huge collector of action figures wrestling. So did that start as you're growing up, or is that something you just picked up recently?
So this started probably probably when I was in college. I always had action figures as a kid growing up, but I never collected them. And then I had got this two-pack of Matt and Jeff, and I went to a autograph signing in upstate New York, and then I got it signed, and I had that on my shelf in college for a while. And then when I graduated, had a small little collection. There's a picture on my Instagram. It's like this small little corner of my room on my mom's house, and then there was probably like 5 or 6 figures, and now it's an entire room
All
of just Hardy Boy stuff. So yeah, no, it started around there. It's just
right.
been going.
Awesome, man. So we walked through your career as a fan and stuff like that. What? When did you decide Josh Breezzyy is going to be a wrestler?
Very strangely during COVID, during the pandemic. When I was growing up, I used to do like backyard trampoline, like wrestling with your friends and stuff. And I always had like in the back of my mind, maybe I could do it one day. Um, went on to, go to college, go on tour as a hip hop artist, do all these things in music. Moved to North Carolina from Long Island. Started planning a tour. So I moved to North Carolina. This is the end of 2019.
Mhm.
Um, and then beginning of 2020, tour was on the way. We had a bunch of places booked. I think it was like 10 shows. We were already selling tickets, starting to move tickets, and then the whole world just shut down and couldn't go rap anywhere, couldn't do anything. Nobody wanted to listen to the underground artists because all these famous people are now streaming on Instagram, and verses started happening. So it was just I tried to keep it alive. I was still, putting out content, making videos, But it was just gone. It was like while the whole world shut down, my whole world like extra shut down. um, so I was sitting at home for a couple, probably like 2 or 3 months, midsummer, probably July, and I saw the Nightmare Factory accepting applications thing. I filled out my application like, hey, at the very least, it'll be something for me to work out and be active. And I'll get to meet Cody Rhodes. So I didn't hear anything back. So then I was like, I really think I could do this. I'm an athlete. Let's do it. So I applied to Firestar Pro in North Carolina, and they were like, yeah, man, come down. This is our next day, blah, blah. So I'm driving there. It was probably like an hour and a half from my house. I'm about 30 minutes into the drive, and my phone rings. Decline the call because I don't recognize the number. Then I get a text from this number, and it's QT Marshall. And he's like, hey, tried to give you a call. A spot opened up in the class. It's yours if you want it. Call me back. Let me know what you want to do. I pulled I never forget. I pulled over into the church, read it again, and was like, wow, thought about it. And I was like, all right. Called him back. We talked about everything that I needed and it was like, all right, we start in 2 weeks. And I was like, oof, wow, okay. And you're in Atlanta? Oh boy, now I got to figure this all out. And he was like, well, just take a couple hours, give me a call back, and let me know. So I called him back and was like, I'm doing it. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm doing it. And the rest is history. So it was kind of just all fell in my lap.
So you head down to the road to this training facility. QT
Yep.
Marshall calls you. Didn't recognize the phone, so you didn't answer it. Then he texts you, and you had this great conversation. So now that's where we're at, is the Nightmare Factory with Cody Rhodes, QT, and all those guys.
Yep.
Wow, that is something that's pretty cool. I mean, that doesn't happen very often, and people need to go. Yeah, so it took that moment. That's awesome. And so we already know Cody Rhodes is one of your trainers. Who else was there to train you?
QT, Ricky Starks was there a lot of the time. 5 and 10 from the Dark Order were always there. Actually beat them up in the showcase. Hit 10 with a Rough Rider, which was actually his idea because he was helping me work on it when I was learning it. And I got the okay from Matt Cardona, and then I was going through it with him, and he was like, hey man, at the showcase, when I come out, hit me with the Rough Rider. I'll put you over big. So I was able to do that, which was awesome of him. Preston Vance is a great dude. Glacier, can't forget Glacier, always there, always helping, always available to listen. Even to this day, I could shoot him a message on Facebook, he'll answer right away. QT's wife, Carolyn, was our nutritionist and trainer. She's great. Brandy was there for some promo classes. Jade was there. She was training also. Hook was there training also. I was there when he threw his first drop kick.
Nice.
It was not impressive, but he has come a long way. Far better than I'll probably ever be. But let's see, who else was there? We had a couple of guest speakers. Shaq was there one time. So it was a good time.
Awesome. So out of all that, who was your greatest influence or impact on your life from that training facility or in the wrestling business altogether?
QT.
You too?
Yep. QT, because in almost like a older brother kind of way, he like gave me this chip on my shoulder.
All right.
In almost that way, like, your younger brother always wants to be like you, and you're kind of just, oh, leave me alone, but you love him.
Yeah.
When I first got there, I'd never seen a QT Marshall match, and I was very upfront with him, and I said, hey man, I've never seen your stuff. And he laughed about it because I was so honest with him that he kind of like respected me a little bit, because he's a very just blunt, honest person himself. So from there on, we had this like bond or whatever. And then there was one time I was very petrified to take a face bump, like a just jump and face bump. And I kept bracing myself. And he was like, you got to stop. You're going to get hurt. So I was like, okay, I mean, if that's what you want to do. So he was like, here, we'll do like a 3D, but I'll just put you up. There'll be nobody to catch you, and you'll take the face bump. I'm like, it's not going to happen, coach. And he's like, just do it. Trust me. So we do it. And I land first because I go to brace myself. So the ring kind of does this little thing and like gave him like a shock up his back. And he was like, you know what? From now on, I'll just listen to you. And I was like, listen, I told you, like, I'm not going to, I'll take a face bump in the heat of the moment. If it's in a match, I'll take a beautiful face bump. But just here for fun, I can't. My brain just doesn't work that way. But then somebody had asked him on a Q&A. He was like, who's your favorite student? Why is it Breezzyy? And he was like, he replied, and he was like, it's definitely not Breezzyy. So from then on, I was like, I'm gonna win this man over. We are gonna be buds. So every now and again we text. The whole God's Gift World Champion was based on his God's Gift gimmick in Ring of Honor. We had a conversation about what I was gonna wear, like as a performer. Like, am I gonna do tights? Am I gonna do pants? Like this, that, and the third. And he was always very big on looking like a wrestler, looking like a superstar, tights, boots, whatever. So my first pair of tights was modeled after his God's Gift trunks that he wore.
Okay.
So I always try to pay homage. I'm really trying hard to learn this handspring enziguri that he does. Not quite there yet, but it's coming. And hopefully, one day God's Gift of old versus God's Gift of new, and we get a chance to wrestle in the ring. But that's
QT
definitely,
Marshall and Josh Breezzyy in the ring. That'd be sweet.
yeah.
That'd be
We did
cool.
it one time in a tag match in training, but
Awesome, man. Awesome.
good time.
So did you see a lot of Cody there? Was he did he help with promos? How'd that go and stuff like that?
So during my class, Cody was there every single day. He was there before most of us. On most days, he always stayed after us. He was always open for questions. I have heard from others that like the later classes, Brandy was pregnant and then like had the baby and all, like he had a lot of other obligations. So I have heard that for later classes he wasn't around as much, but I can't speak to that personally.
Yeah.
But for our class, Cody was great. Still to this day, like I shot him up when my daughter was born. I like shot him a message, and he was like congratulated me. Every time I see him, if I make it to the showcases now, and we chop it up about action figures. The last one I was at, he actually showed me like the prototype images that he got sent from Mattel for the new Stardust figure that just came out, and he was like, "Hey Breezzyy, I gotta show you this. Blah blah. Look, they just sent it to me." So he's a big fan of mine, at least me as a person. I don't know about if he's a fan of my wrestling, but he's a fan of me as a person. But yeah, he was always cool, man. He's exactly what you see on TV. It's not an act. I know people are starting to find out that John Cena is not just the nicest person in the world. He does have his boundaries. I've seen a couple TikToks of him telling people to go F off. But Cody is literally the nicest human in the world. There was one day when the Dustin and Cody Blood and Guts figures came out.
Mm-hmm.
He walked up to me like before he was running a little late to practice. We were waiting on him. He walks up to me, hands me a fresh minty Dustin and Cody Rhodes Blood and Guts figure, and was like, "Here, man, got the box today from Jazzwares. Brought you one." Like what?
Nice. That's
Like
awesome.
that was insane. Yeah, he signed my series 1 Cody figure the first day because I was like, hey, when we're finished, I want you to sign it so I have something to like work to. And he was like, man, I'll sign it right now. And just signed it all nice. So
Awesome, man. Awesome. So going through training, got all your gimmick, your promos and stuff. When was your first ever in ring match, and what sticks out most in regards to that match?
my first match outside of the Nightmare Factory was at Pro South Wrestling. It was a tag match. The Nice Guys, Josh Breezzyy and Jacob Ryan versus, I can't remember their tag name, but it was Carly Bravo and Victor Cortez.
Okay.
And Carly Bravo is now tagging with Sean Dean in the infantry. Shouts to Carly Bravo. Good luck on Saturday. But what sticks out about that is we rehearsed this match so many times because we were all right there. It was so Carly was supposed to come with a knee in the corner to this side of my face, and I had my hand up, and he came on this side of my face.
Oh no.
So he came with the wrong knee. So I put my hand up expecting this right here, and he comes right here, cleans me, puts my tooth through my lip. Blood is everywhere. Like I'm seeing stars into a damn, what's that suplex? Into a I can't think of the name of it, but into this suplex, into a pin, and I kick out, and there's this awesome picture where I'm like spitting out blood. Carly's like, "Oh, it's only two," and the ref is looking at me like, "What happened?" Oh man.
Nice.
But and then I don't remember much. I don't remember the match actually. I had to watch it back a couple weeks later, but I was able to make the tag out, gather myself, get the hot tag, go through my comeback, hit a Rough Rider, climb the ropes, miss a swanton, and then get rolled up in a crucifix for the 3 count and lose. And then I remember going to the back. Who was there? So many people were there that I had. This is the first time, my first time ever being there. First time they've ever met me, and now there's blood gushing out of my face. Luckily, I had a first aid kit from just having it with all the stuff going on during the pandemic, and there was like this like this quick blood stops powder stuff. So I grabbed that, I bust it open, I pop it on my thing, on my chin, and it like stops, and then I cover it with a band-aid. Now, mind you, I had an 8-hour drive home from Alabama to North Carolina.
Wow.
I don't remember the match. I'm still bleeding. I think I made it to like Augusta, Georgia, and a friend of mine lived in that area, and I was like texting them on the drive home, like, "Hey, can I stay here? Can I stop here? Can I stop here?" They finally answered me at like 2 in the morning. And I get there at like 3 in the morning, go to sleep for a few hours, make it back the next night, and I think I slept the whole next day.
Nice.
But yeah, Carly, if you're watching this, man, I'm coming back for my tooth. I just had to get that tooth pulled because he cracked the tooth. And then yeah, so
Nice. So one last question about training. How hard was training, and was it worth every single bump that you took?
that was the second hardest 12 weeks of my life. And yes, I think it was. I feel the training was so great just on every level. Like the first few weeks you're there, you're like, wow, I don't know if I can make it. But then like once you get going, your body starts to like adapt, and you build up that strength and endurance. You're like, wow, this is the best shape I've ever been in. Like I look great. I feel great, and it's worth it. And then but yeah, no, I don't think I'd be where I am today if I didn't make that change. Like so much happened with me going to the Nightmare Factory. I think that the Nightmare Factory is responsible for me meeting my wife, having my daughter. In like some weird way, like all of that had to happen for me to get where I am today. Because I was in a completely different situation before then than I am now. And I think without that, without the pandemic, without all these things that just happened, like it all had to happen, and I'm glad it did.
So McKnight Records and Josh Breezzyy LLC happened before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So that was your hip hop. Can you briefly walk us through your career as a hip hop artist?
Yeah, man. So I was rapping since 5th grade. Being a mixed kid in a predominantly divided area, racially divided area, meaning that like, you know, the black kids kind of stuck together, the white kids kind of stuck together, and then there was me in the middle. Uh, so I didn't really fit in with the black kids because I was too white, and then I was too black to fit in with the white kids, and I really didn't want to fit in with them. They just seemed more like they wanted to distance themselves from me, whereas I kind of could fit in a little bit over here. So at lunchtime, there was always a cipher going on. Everybody had a cipher every lunchtime, and I would sit and watch and kind of be like, all right, all right. And I was like, I listen to hip hop, I could do this. So I'd go home and I would write some things. And then I remember one time I like started rapping, and it was kind of good. And everybody was like, okay, okay. And my friend Taheem, shout out to him, man. He just got out of jail. Welcome home. He gave me the name Breezzyy. At the time, um, it was when everybody's using like letters for numbers and stuff. So originally, it was J Breezzyy, but it was spelled JBR33, uppercase Z, lowercase z, uppercase Y, lowercase y.
All right.
Um, yeah, so from there, I went to high school and I was definitely grinding. I was recording. Damn, I gotta tell this story. My my grandma would go to bingo during the week, and she had a computer room, and I didn't have a computer in my house, and I lived next door with my mom. So when she would go to bingo, I would sneak over. Before she would go to bingo, I would make sure to unlock the back door and not like. And then when she would leave, I would sneak in through the back door, go to the computer room, download a recording software, record a bunch of tracks, bounce them all out, mix them a little bit, bounce them all out onto like a CD or a flash drive, delete the software, clean up any evidence that I was there, and go home. And then I would listen to it, and then the next day I would go back and I would print a bunch of CDs and try to sell them in the hallway at school.
Nice.
And nobody wanted to hear nothing from me. Um, but it's funny because every now and again I'll get people on Instagram be like, "Hey, I was cleaning out my closet and look what I found," and it'll be like some mixtape from 2012 or something.
Nice.
But then in high school, I went to school and I learned audio production, mixing, mastering, everything like that. And that's where we started McKnight Records. We had a project that was create your own record label, run your record label, how to budget your record label, produce a product, and all the stream, like all the revenue areas and things like that. So then from there, I kind of just ran with it, and I was like, "Yo, like let's just anything that me, Trey, or Charles, or Connor, Kyle, we put out is just gonna say McKnight Records. We're gonna make it an actual thing outside of this project." So I ran with that, and unfortunately, I'm the only one that kept doing music full time. So it was just a lot of me. Um, and then in college, I kept it going. Got my LLC for Josh Breezzyy LLC. I was so with that, it was a conversation with myself of do I do McKnight Records LLC or do I do Josh Breezzyy LLC? Because if I do Josh Breezzyy LLC, it covers everything. If I do McKnight Records, it's just that. So I went with Josh Breezzyy LLC. With the one of the DBAs is McKnight Records. And then I would put out everything under that. And then, fun fact about me, all my albums that came out list my child as a executive producer.
Okay.
So, I mean, nowadays I don't get a lot of streams anymore because I'm not active in music. I'm not sharing it. I still do decent every month, but goes to her when I die, so that's good. Uh,
Absolutely.
but so
Awesome.
in college is when I started to do a lot of live shows. I met Sakori Notes. So we went to me and him linked up. We did Something About You, a song together that did 100. It's like I think it's like 200,000 streams or something like that. That was probably that was like a big blow up song. It like went crazy on campus and blew up. And then we were like singing in train stations and doing all these shows, performing everywhere. But then he left the school and then we kind of like distanced a little bit. So I was doing my own thing. He was doing his own thing. I graduated and then I had a studio in my mom's house and I put out Third Dimension, which went nuts. Third Dimension blew up. It had Denon Porter from D12 on there.
Okay.
Um, All I Ever Wanted was a fire single that was on there. DOA. And then me and my mom had a falling out. I moved to North Carolina. Um, Wait, so no, I started in my timeline is messed up. See, it's the COVID thing. So earlier I said in 2020 when the world shut down. The world shut down in 2021. I'm sorry about that. So because 2020 is Third Dimension. So I put that out and then we did the East Coast Takeover tour. And that was Buffalo, New York City, Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And we sold out all 4 shows. It was just me and Saint Dropper. We drove in my in my Chevy Malibu from Long Island, picked him up in Jersey. We went to Buffalo, performed, drove to drove to Pennsylvania, performed, drove to the city, performed, and then back to Jersey, performed. That was a great show. You could watch that live, the highlights of that tour on my YouTube channel. And then everything was just rocking and rolling for the rest of the summer. We were doing music videos, we were doing this, we were doing that. And then that's when the world shut down. I was recording. We were planning another tour for that, and then that's when the world shut down.
Awesome,
So,
man. So you're pretty seasoned in music and wrestling, so you got a lot of options ahead of you going forward. I'm pretty sure of that.
yeah, I mean, that's what I like to tell promoters. Like, I'm not, yeah, I want to come wrestle on your show, but if you need a flyer, I do graphic design. If you need better sound, I do live sound. I do post production. I can make a song for you. Like, if you need a video guy, I can do videos. Like, I'm more than just a wrestler. So I think that gets me at least in people's mind a lot. Like, when I send that over and I send all this stuff, usually they're like, "Oh wow, that's a lot better than anybody else says." Like, I had this one guy, he was running a local show, and I sent it to him. I sent him my like wrestling resume, kind of like maybe like 2 weeks before the show, and he was like, "Man, I wish like we were further out. I could book you because like nobody comes to me this professionally."
Yeah.
So
So I got Adrian Whisper on the chat. He says, "Who is in the house? It's a gangster destruction, so you know what's going down." He's a promoter of XIW Extreme Impact Wrestling out of Panama City Beach.
okay,
That promotion is when I fell severely in love with indie wrestling. I mean, you guys in the indie scene, I don't know if anybody's ever shared this with you guys, but you guys in the indie scene make us fans really engage the realness of what you guys are doing. I mean, you guys are the punches are so real. The things you guys go through are so real, and I just want to say thank you to you for doing that, and Adrian for being in chat and doing what they do at that promotion. So I'm excited to see what FWE does. So, are there any guys that you face that you don't really care to face anymore?
that's a great question.
Right?
Um,
Not to try to get you, start shit,
yeah,
but
guys getting the heat and with the boys. Um, no, honestly, I don't think anybody that I've had a quote unquote bad. I think the only bad match I've had two bad matches. The first bad match was as the Nice Guys against All Star Special, and this was like our second or third match. Might have been our second match. It was at Peach State Wrestling Alliance. And I was sitting with Huck, and I'm like, man, we really need to go over the match. Like, I can't go out there and just call it on the fly. And he's like, don't worry, just listen to me. I got you. It'll be easy, blah, blah, blah. So, like, last minute, like, literally, like, the match before us is, like, coming down to the end. He kind of just spits out this match layout, and he's like, you got it? And I'm like, I mean, I have to because our music's playing. So we go out there, and oh my God, did we shit the bed? Excuse my language, but wow, it was so bad. Awful, absolutely awful. And then we get to the back after we get through this match, and I'm just so pissed. And then Huck's like, yeah, next time, I'll put something together for you. And this brings me back to my conversation with QT. If people would just listen to me when I tell them things, everything would go right. Like, if you would just put together a skeleton, we could have had a much better match. But call it on the fly, brother. But then we had another match with them later at Pro South Wrestling. Easy peasy, such a great match. We put together a skeleton. My second bad match would have been against Brandon Watley at Pro South Wrestling. I had a match. I was scheduled to face somebody else. Me and him had put together the match, and then he no-showed. And then literally 2 minutes before the match, they were like, "Hey, you and Brandon," because Brandon's guy no-showed also. And it was like, "Well, you guys are gonna go wrestle." And I was like, "All right, well, this is like what I want to do. Like, this is what I was planning to do." And he was like, "That's great, but this is what I do." And then it just didn't clash well. Um, But yeah, and then that match was just kind of bad, and it was just I'm not. So because I'm on the autism spectrum, it's very hard for me to just go into a match and call it on the fly because I can't process it quick enough to where it doesn't look fake, if that makes sense. So like if you back me into the corner and you're like, "Hey, do this." My brain starts to like, "All right, I'm going to do this. How do I do this? This is what you do. This is how you sell it." And by that time, I'm already supposed to be doing it. So it's like I like to get with my opponents and at least go into it with a skeleton. I don't need every move. Like I always tell them, like especially as a baby face, is very easy. Like you're a heel. This is my shine. This is what I like to do. You cool with that? I bet. Once you cut me off, whatever you want to do in the heat, as long as it's nothing crazy, just do it. I'll sell it like it's real. Because it's very easy to sell if you're getting beat up. Wherever they just hit you, ow, that hurts.
Okay.
So, like, as long as you're not gonna try to put me in like a muscle buster or something crazy that I've never taken before, and it's just all simple stuff, call the heat on the fly, that's fine with me. Excuse me. But I like to know shine. My comeback is always the same, and what's the finish? Like, that's all I need. Like, and some people, kind of like bite back at me about that like oh like you shouldn't the reason I don't work at Pro South Wrestling anymore is because I asked what the finish was going to be, and they literally in the group chat like talked down to me like I was like an idiot for asking what the finish to my match was going to be, and tried to start a separate group chat with my opponent and the booker to kind of come up with a match, and they left me on red in that group chat. Then they like the whole group chat just like jumped on me about this, and I was like, all right, then I'm not coming to the show. Like if like it was like 2 days before, and I was like, all right, if this is how y'all gonna treat me because I asked a simple question, then I'm not working for you. And I was going there for free because it was like this. It was for their Lions Cup tournament or something. It's like an 8-hour drive each way for free, and you can't even do me the service of giving me the finish. And then their response was like, "Oh, like you're lucky you even know who you're facing." Blah blah. And my thing is, why does wrestling have to be like that? Like everybody knows it's predetermined. Like we all know. And if you don't know as a booker where you want to go with your thing, like that's what I love about FWWE. Tyler has the next like 4 months planned out. So it's like if you can't give your talent like what they're doing, like it doesn't have to be like it was back then where you just go out there and call it in the ring. Why? That's like saying, all right, we want to go make Spider-Man 4 action. And just expecting Tom Holland to put together the movie. Like at least give me some sort of something to where I can like you can't expect the artist to paint, but you didn't get all you gave him was the paper.
Right. Absolutely. So I got a question. Well, Adrian Whisper has a question. Again, he's the promoter owner of XW. It's not to put you on the spot, but tell him to cut a promo in character as to why XIW should book him. He's curious to hear your shtick. We want to see a character that's telling the story not a normal everyday person. You think you got this?
Oh man, I mean, I guess so. 30 seconds on the spot. All right. I mean, the problem with that question though is the character is just me, like turned all the way up. It's not like I'm gonna turn into like the Wyatt family or anything. But listen, you said XIW?
XIW.
See, the problem with XIW is they're missing their John Cena, they're missing their Cody Rhodes, and everybody's looking for it, and everybody has these questions. But unfortunately, there's only one answer, and that's Josh Breezzyy. So if XIW wants to take over Florida, get on to the next level of professional wrestling, bring in the crowds, bring in the people, then there's only one answer. And you should hit them up at wrestlingwithhiphop@gmail.com, and let's make some magic, baby.
There you go, Adrian Whisper. There you go. So we've talked about, you've mentioned QT, Cody Rhodes, Starks. You've seen a bunch of guys that are in the bigs. So I'm not even gonna ask you who you rubbed elbows with because you gave that earlier. Are there any specific wrestlers whose styles you admire to mimic? or is it just you?
Um, I kind of just draw moves from my favorite wrestlers. So like I do my finish is the Swanton. I do the Rough Rider in my comeback. I do a lot of Dustin Rhodes moves. I've been trying to take pieces that from Dustin's arsenal, and I'm really trying to. I actually, what I've been doing actually is watching a lot of my peers. So like Rosario Grillo, one of the stand-ins for the Young Bucks. He does this move in a when he's in a wrist lock. It's like a front roll, back roll, kip up. I'm gonna start incorporating that. Carly does the like stop fake punch thing in the corner. I want to start using that. I just started doing the power slam out of the corner. Do the front face slam that Dustin does. Um, Trying to do like I said earlier, I'm trying to learn the handspring enziguri that QT does. Might try to do a Cody cutter, bust that out one time for the one time. The problem is there's only so many like wrestling moves that you can do. So it's like, what do I really use without copying somebody? A big thing that everybody said about me coming out of the showcase was I forget. There's one fan that was like, he looks like a jacked Joey Janela cosplaying Jeff Hardy, and I was like, wow. I mean, thanks for calling me jacked, but and then I was like, that's crazy. And then like everybody's like, oh, like they just see me and they're like, they see me with the half face paint. I do a swanton, so immediately I'm just Jeff Hardy. Same thing with my music. Like I would rap a lot of syllables. I wouldn't make like club songs or like I get money songs because I didn't get money at the time. So why would I rap about that? I was more focused on the art of the music and like rhyming all these different syllables and rhyming all these words and this fat double time flows and things like that. So people were like, "Oh, you're Eminem." And it's just like, all right, I'm not, but okay. So I for a long time I had to fight that stigma of being compared to Eminem, um, and kind of get away with that, which I think is why my Third Dimension album was so successful, is because it was taking that same love of the art form of the rhyming these words, but making it pop music-esque. So in wrestling, like yes, I know Jeff Hardy's entire arsenal. Unfortunately, his arsenal is not that large when it comes to wrestling moves. So you have to do more. So I've been trying to do more, and I remember I think I had a match at Pro South and I came to the back and one of the veterans there, real cool guy, Damian Saratone, he was talking to me, he was like, you gotta do more. Like if you don't do more wrestling moves, they're gonna continue to say this about you, like, oh, you're just Jeff Hardy light. And like that stuck with me, and I was like, damn, I thought I was doing more. Like Jeff don't do this, Jeff don't do that. But the main parts of the match, when I look back, I was like, wow, that is just like, oh, Jeff Hardy there. Oh, swanton to the outside through a table. That's Jeff Hardy. I'm like, okay, I get you. So the very next match, we lock up, put him in a headlock, and I do this beautiful headlock takeover. And I looked dead in the hard cam and was like, Jeff Hardy don't do headlock takeovers. And then so then we do so I've been trying to just do more actual wrestling moves, and just take from everywhere and just kind of get away from that stigma, and I think I have, but I still have like that aura. Like if you're on my TikTok, I just had the craziest merch line I've ever had in my life. I had a match at Aware Wrestling in South Georgia, and it was me versus Gaby Baby, and Gaby Baby pulled the tights, exposed my whole butt cheek for the win, cheated to win. Fans were not happy. They were definitely Josh Breezzyy fans by the end of that match, and we go straight to intermission. Now I cut a promo, set up for the next match, went to the back, taped up, and then came out to my merch table. By the time I didn't even make it to my merch table, and people were already at the line. And I was like, wow, this is my first time there. So I'm like, oh wow, okay. So I get there, and all of a sudden now there's like every kid, every parent is like at my table, and the intermission was 15 minutes. They actually had to move it to 19 minutes so I could finish the whole line. That's on my TikTok. It's in like a time lapse form, and I literally was like so overwhelmed, but like so like wow, like so many pictures, all these kids. Oh my god, can I hold your belt? Can I take a picture, bro? And then like you're so cool, blah, blah. And then I get to the back and I call my wife and I'm like, I don't even know like what to say right now. Like this is the craziest thing, and it's just like so I do like that's why I say like I just did a podcast 2 days ago, and he was like, "Man, you're really like the dark horse of the Nightmare Factory. Like, no, like nobody like is talking about you, but they should be."
Yeah.
And he was like, "I spent 5 minutes on your Twitter," and I was like, "Wow, like yeah, no, I'm not out here having Bret Hart Matt classics." But he was like, "Yo, if you just look on your TikTok, the first like 5 things is like you jumping off this entranceway through a table and the whole building erupting with a holy shit chant." And then like the next one is like you doing your face paint with all these views and stuff. And then it's like you with the merch table and all these fans. And then it's like everywhere you go, it just seems like you become the fan favorite. And I don't think there's been a promotion that I've stepped in. Like I have fans still today will message me, when you coming back to Pro South? And I really want to break the fourth wall and be like, maybe when they apologize, I'll think about it. But I'm like, I'm not, but come to this show if you can. So um
Absolutely.
like anywhere I've gone, I've just been a fan favorite, and I feel like a lot of places are missing like a true babyface fan favorite type of character. And I feel like I have the right people behind me. Like I talk to Matt Cardona a lot, and I talk to him about gimmick stuff. I don't talk to him about wrestling moves. I talk to him about gimmick stuff. Like, hey, should I put this in my merch table? How should I go about this with my gear? Things like that. Because um, well, like I said, Matt Cardona's not good. Matt Cardona probably could go out there and give you a Matt classic, a Bret Hart style Matt classic, but he's not. And he's making more, he's wrestling more than everybody on the indies. He's making more money than everybody on the indies, and he's more popular than he's ever been. And his match is literally 5 moves of doom, a missed title shot, and then the go home. But so it's like you don't have to be, not that it's not good to be profound in actual wrestling. But fans, what Cody always said was wrestling is about moments.
Yep.
People don't remember Brett versus Owen and all. Well, not Brett versus. They remember Brett versus Owen because of the story behind it, but they don't. They're not going to remember some Joe Schmo and Bret Hart wrestling a 15-minute like collegiate wrestling style match.
Right.
But they're gonna remember like the screw job. It's a moment. They're gonna remember when Jeff Hardy got speared by Edge from hanging from the title belt, as opposed to Jeff Hardy, like a Daniel Bryan or somebody, and they just wrestle the whole time. Like I think that's a little bit of an issue with AEW currently, is they're giving you these dream matches,
Yeah.
which are a moment if you like wrestling, like if you like grappling, but they're not giving you necessarily the moments like a Cody versus Roman.
Right.
So I'm all about moments, and like I try to, even in a regular match, I try to have a moment. We just did a street fight at the last Florida Wrestling Empire show, and excuse me, oh my god, energy drinks, man. Um, the moment for me was, it was around my grandma's birthday. She passed away from COVID in 2021, and she really loved bingo, like I said earlier. So we had a street fight, and I didn't want to do anything too crazy because it was like the first time there. Didn't really want to get hurt. So everybody always pulls out the black bag for tax. So my wife throws me this, or runs up with, holding my daughter, runs up to me in the ring. I've just hit a Rough Rider, I think, and I'm calling for her. She runs up with this black bag. The whole crowd's like, "Oh my god, tax!" And then I dump out bingo balls. And they're like, is it Legos? Is it gumballs? I'm like, that ain't gumballs. And then somebody picks one up in the crowd. They're like, bingo. And the whole crowd pops. Now, what a moment. Like, it's a sentimental moment for me. The crowd, I'm sure, has never seen bingo balls involved in any
Right.
wrestling match ever. And like fans were taking them and like keeping them to as like mementos that like when they bounced out of the ring. There's a great picture of me dumping them out on Damien Dove. And it's just like nobody's gonna remember when I ran up to the second rope, slipped, and then pushed myself up to the second rope for the leg drop. Nobody's gonna remember that I slipped. They're gonna
Right.
remember that I brought those bingo balls, though.
Absolutely. You mentioned something about the street fight, but I'm going to go to my kids' questions first. Then the street fight thing wraps into the final last bit of it of FWE. So, kids' question. It's like a shoot. They have about, I think I have like 8 questions. Ready?
All right.
Favorite food?
Chicken nuggets.
Okay.
Or chicken tenders.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
No, it does not.
Favorite book?
Ooh, favorite book. That is a great question. What is it called? The Rose That Grew from Concrete by Tupac Shakur. It's right here on my desk.
Okay. Favorite TV show?
Ooh, it's a toss-up between 3. Chicago PD, Law and Order SVU, and The Good Doctor.
My wife loves The Good Doctor. We just got done watching the last episode. So
Awesome.
the final episode of the season or the series, I guess, is next week.
Oof.
Just fact. Do you have your hobbies are collecting collectibles. What's your grail of collectibles?
My Superstars Signature Series Collection TLC pack here with the ring and the title back here.
Okay, yeah.
That's definitely the grail right now.
What's your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers?
QT Marshall, Cody. No, I'm just Jeff Hardy, John Cena, Shawn Michaels, and The Undertaker.
Okay. So what's your hot take? All right, you come from the Nightmare Factory. I already know your answer. So the first question is, do you acknowledge the tribal chief?
Because we're live on camera, no, I do not.
No, you do not. I see, so you don't want to get in trouble. So, I mean, I don't want this to be elaborate, but does Cody Rhodes finish the story, and why does he have to?
He should have finished the story last WrestleMania. If he doesn't finish the story, then he needs to find another story and a new publisher.
Facts.
He has to, just because there's been all this buildup, and it's almost like they gave us blue balls for an entire year. It's like, God, just give it to him already.
Right, absolutely.
The guy like earned it. He tore his pec. He wrestled a Hell in the Cell with a purple arm. Came back, had a great match at WrestleMania, and then he just took it all away. He had to win the Rumble again, come back again.
And I get
and
that.
Now
I get that.
Like,
see, but here as a fan, I'm like, I don't want it to end. They have such a big story going with the bloodline and Cody Rhodes and everything in it. I don't want it to end because I was a huge fan of NWO and it ran dry, and now this is so much better. And I'm like, as a fan, I get it. Cody's earned it. He's done it. He's doing it because of his dad didn't get to hold the title. I get all that. But I'm a pro wrestling fan. I'm like, don't end this. This is gold. This is so fire. That's where I stand. But
no, I get it from that perspective. Just because, like, for a long time there was nothing like this on television and wrestling television.
Nothing.
And I almost wish that like he didn't get involved with the bloodline so that the bloodline story could keep going.
Yes.
And it didn't have to be one or the other. And I don't think it has to be one or the other. I think even if Cody does finish the story, as long as they set something up within the story of the bloodline to cost Roman, that they can continue just away from the title, because
Right.
Roman doesn't need the title.
No.
Especially not now. At first he did, and now he does not.
No.
But I feel like there was just a lot of filler for a while until The Rock came finally. And I think it was filler because they wanted The Rock to come last year and he didn't.
Right.
And I don't think they were planning on that, so they had to fill it. But he's here and he's doing some good stuff.
Doing some amazing stuff.
And for what he did to Coach Cody last week, had to get rid of my Rocky Maivia shirt. But
Come on. Cody deserved that ass beating. So,
but I do agree that they are doing great stuff. I'm excited to see where it goes. Like that's one thing I can say. No matter which way it goes, it's got me on the edge of my feet. And that's when pro wrestling's at its best, is when because you really don't know. Like
right.
we all thought Cody was finishing the story last
Yep.
WrestleMania, and then nope. And then it's like, oh, okay. And now you're like, well, he's got to finish it this year, but
Then you insert
will
The
he?
Rock. Yeah, then you
insert the Rock.
And I'm like, whatever. So the question was brought to me, when it comes to matches, why do you love street fights and not DQs?
Like, why do I prefer street fights to regular
DQ,
matches?
Instead of disqualification matches. Tyler sent me that one. Mr. Nimmons sent me that one.
Okay. So I just feel like there are, like, I like open canvases. Not that there's not an open canvas with a regular wrestling match. It's just it goes back to moments. Like I said, you can create a moment in a regular wrestling match if there's like enough story, but I just feel like the fans are there for pro wrestling that they see on TV. So I feel like there should always be some sort of stipulation match on any card. Also, I'm very much from the era where there was a stipulation match on every wrestling card. With my, growing up a huge Hardys fans and all the things that they did. Like that's what I remember. Like that's what got me to be a wrestling fan. Like, I had a tables match against Chris Sanson somewhere up in North Florida, and we did a tables match, and like this little girl, wanted the piece of the table, and like had me and Sanson sign it, and there's a picture of me with the table, and like if I just had a regular wrestling match, she wouldn't have been as interested. She definitely wouldn't have gotten a piece of table to go put in her room. So it's just all about like giving back to the fans, and like they pay to be there. And like, do I think that they're paying to just go see, two guys in their underwear go roll around? Probably not. They want to be entertained. Some guys are much better at entertaining in just rolling around in their underwear.
Right.
That's just not where I'm at, to where I'm comfortable enough to be able to do that. So for me, if you noticed in Sting's AEW run, a lot of his matches were street fights or like tornado tags, where things can kind of go a little awry. To me, I feel like in a street fight, I'm more comfortable because I'm not scared to mess up.
Okay. All right.
Whereas in a regular match, like, oh, I messed this move up, and now people are like, oh, he sucks. He doesn't know what he's doing. But if you can't mess up throwing a garbage can,
Right.
like you can only do it good or so well that they're like, wow, he really nailed him with that. Like
Right.
when I threw the garbage can from the ground over the rope and hit Damien Dove in the head, like I was like, you couldn't have thrown a garbage can any better
Right.
than that.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah, so for me, it's just about putting my best effort forward.
So, to kind of close the show because we're running quite late. You can check out Josh Breezzyy, BREEZZY. Google that at the River City WrestleCon on June 8th, 9th, 2024. He'll have his run near table there. But let's talk about tomorrow night. Florida Wrestling Empire has a match, has a event. It's called the Fair Frenzy, and your opponent is going to be Zacharias, and it's for the South Atlantic Championship match. It's for that title. And I loved your promo that you cut. And here, let's listen to it real quick.
So what do we have here? Just another champion thinking that they've got what it takes to go one-on-one with the only one, the answer to professional wrestling, the God's gift world champion, the Nightmare Factory's very own, Josh Breezzyy. And that's 2 E's, 2 Z's, and 2 Y's, cause that's what I go by, and I don't need spell check cause you could just Google me, bitch. So March 29th, when you step into the ring and we put your title, the Florida Wrestling Empire South Atlantic Championship, on the line, make sure that you're ready to step inside the squared circle with God's gift. Because no matter how many times the question changes, there's only one answer. And I'm walking out a Fair Frenzy, Breezzyy, 2 belts. Now go ahead and spell check that.
Josh Breezzyy, 2 belts, right?
Breezzyy, 2 belts.
So what do you got to say, man, to Zacharias? Is there any closing remarks you want to say, about the FWE event that's coming up tomorrow as a whole? And call out your opponent, man.
Yeah, man. The event tomorrow is gonna be great. There's a lot of great matches on the card, a lot of talented athletes on the card. Definitely, if you're in the area, you definitely want to check that out. A great brand new venue for FWE. And it's gonna be at a fair. Like, who doesn't want to go get your nachos, get your what's the thing? Funnel cake, fried Oreos, and come and watch wrestling. Like, unfortunately, there's gonna be no garbage cans being thrown, Tyler. But there's gonna be a lot of great matches on the card. And yeah, you get to take a picture of me after I beat Zacharias, and I walk out Breezzyy 2 belts. I mean, at the end of the day, there's really nobody that wants this more than me. Like I said earlier, like people always overlook Josh Breezzyy when it comes to the greats out of the Nightmare Factory. It's the Carly Bravos, the Jades, the Julia Harts, the Rosario Grillos, Dean Alexander. Hey, like, I hear it all the time, and unfortunately my name is never mentioned. So unfortunately for you, Zacharias, I have a giant chip on my shoulder, and I'm not talking wavy or lays, like big ass SpongeBob sized chip on my shoulder. And I need this way more than you do. I need this way more than anybody else does. I need to prove to not only everybody that's always doubted me, not only my coaches that never seem to hit me up when the time is right, but myself, that I deserve this, and I can make my daughter proud, and she'll be there in the crowd, and she'll see me pin you 1, 2, 3 square right down the middle, and that's it, man. So I mean, it's not too late to just lay the title down and walk away, bro. That would be my suggestion, but hey, that would be a little. I mean, I feel like I'm a little biased.
Florida Wrestling Empire, Josh Breezzyy against Zacharias, however you want to say his name.
Right? He's telling he sent an email about me getting spell check. Hey, buddy, I gotta ask Siri how to say that.
Right, absolutely. So I appreciate your time that you gave us, Mr. Breezzyy. By the end of tomorrow night, we'll have you as Breezzyy 2 belts, I'm sure. So once you do that, send me a picture so Huge Pop can post it on his page that you are Breezzyy 2 belts.
Oh yeah.
I look forward to seeing that belt at the River City WrestleCon. Because you'll be bringing that with you, I'm sure.
I got to get a new pop-up banner. The 2 belts.
Need to. There you go. But no, man, thank you for everything. Thank you for coming on. I'm sorry we ran long. I hope that didn't interfere with your time away from your family.
No.
I appreciate Tyler Nimmons as far as FWE goes, setting up some interviews. I'm glad he made us connect. I call you my friend. I'm going to play some exit song, and don't go anywhere. I want to chit chat real quick in the guest room. Okay.
Sounds good.
This is Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. I've had the opportunity to interview FWE, Florida Wrestling Empire, Josh Breezzyy, that's EEZZYY. Google him. He'll tell you. I love it. I want to use that. I want to use that so much.
Google me, bitch.
Google me, bitch. Anyway, I love it. Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. It's been a fun night. Love you guys. I'm out.
All my dogs, make some noise up in this house.
Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your head is knocked out. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your head is knocked out. Fight with Adrian Whisper is like a fight with the devil, because when he's dealing with you, you cannot get on this level. Fight with Adrian Whisper is like a fight with a king. It's like a fight with an army. They got the tanks and everything. He's leaving bruises and stitches, possibly leaving you crippled. Cause when he sets up the table and sends you straight through the middle. 6 sadistic free, beat that ass with a light bulb. Leave a piece of glass embedded in the back of your skull. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the ground. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your ass is knocked out. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the ground. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your ass is knocked out.